Hello and welcome back. My name is Mitch Case. We are on the More Than a Business live show here on LinkedIn, and we come to you guys every single week at Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time with the goal to introduce you to amazing leaders within amazing organizations that truly operate their company in a way that is truly more than a business. This has been something that I've been pleasured to do for close to 8 months now, and bringing just amazing both entrepreneurs, business owners, HR executives into this space to continue to highlight those individuals and the organizations that they run. So I'm really excited to get you introduced to our guest today. But before I go ahead and do that, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, True Captive. They believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that isn't complicated. So if you do ever want to learn more about that unique captive healthcare program, go on over to truecaptive.com. If you can't figure that one out, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to get you introduced to them and their team as a great organization here. With that, I do want to go ahead and give you a quick intro on our next guest, Caleb. Caleb and I got to chat through LinkedIn of all things, and just really resonated with the work that he was doing, both as an entrepreneur, but also as a leader within the organization that continues to grow. So Caleb is the CEO and founder of a company called Tilled. I'm not going to pretend that I know specifically everything that he does, but I'm going to let him talk more about that here in just a second. But I just want anybody that is tuning into this show today, if you have questions as we are exploring kind of this conversation, shoot them into the comments there. Let us know where you're watching and tuning in from, whatever city that may be or whatever platform that is. We want to make sure we can give you guys some shout outs and have those conversations. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce Caleb Avery to the show. Caleb, how's it going today, man?
It's going great. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
You are, I think we're on show like 43. So I really appreciate you being a part of this. And I'm really, really excited to dive into the work that you guys do. But before we do that, go ahead and let our audience know a little bit about what Tilled even does, as well as kind of what your day-to-day looks like. And I'm not going to take your thunder, but I know that's not going to be the same thing every day. But let's keep that high level, and then we can just dive right into that impact story.
Yeah, I'll do my best not to use a lot of industry jargon and abbreviations, but I'm sure I'll break that rule. But here at Tilled, per the neon sign, we do PayFac as a service. And to me, when I think about PayFac as a service, the idea is to provide turnkey, white labeled payments infrastructure solutions primarily to vertical software businesses. And so what does that actually mean? Yeah. So a lot of our customers are these vertical software platforms. So if you think in the medical space, that could be a dental practice management software. It could be a golf course software selling to golf courses. So think software selling to a small business to enable that business to accept credit card payments in their business. And one of the big value adds behind Tilled is that we're giving these software platforms the ability to easily generate revenue off of all of the payments flowing through their platform. And for me, part of the reason why I was motivated to start this prior to Tilled, I've really been in the payment space my entire career. Started in payments at 19, going door to door, scaled up that first business. Oh, wow. I've been doing this my entire career. And I was doing a lot of consulting for these vertical software businesses, working with folks like Stripe and just giving away all of this payments margin in their business. And what's crazy is that some of these guys are leaving millions of dollars a year in revenue on the table. And so, especially in this, current economic environment, you can't afford to leave any money on the table, let alone millions of dollars a year in revenue. And so these vertical software businesses come to us. We've got an API first solution. We've got a lot of easily, white labelable components for them to get up and running quickly. And then ultimately, we're helping them generate revenue on those payments.
Right on. So what does your day kind of look like within the organization?
Yeah. So at this point, Tilled is close to 50 employees on the team, completely remote business. I think I have 8 direct reports in the business. And so at this point, I still wear a lot of hats. I'm very involved in the day-to-day. And, for me, I still do a lot of selling. I do really all of our enterprise selling. I'm still involved, day-to-day in some of the deals that happen on the platform. I do a lot on LinkedIn. So nice to be on a LinkedIn live here today. It's obviously how, we got connected. I'm our chief fundraising officer. So out there on the trail fundraising, for the business. And then for me, a lot of it is just helping empower, my leaders to be successful in their day to day, and then helping them get unstuck. And so, what can I do to help them, be more efficient and get done everything that they need to get done, and come in and solve problems, when needed.
Spoken like a true business leader and entrepreneur. It sounds like maybe you have the EOS system going on over there. Yeah.
We have implemented a variation of EOS. We started
Okay.
with EOS maybe 2 years ago, and then we've brought on an executive coach a little over a year ago who has kind of his own flavor of EOS. But having some sort of
Sure.
operating system is just an absolute must, especially at the scale we're starting to get to, in the business. It's just chaos, otherwise.
Yeah. Well, let's transition into kind of an impact story. So we always really like to start this off with talking about a positive impact in how you or maybe even Tild as a company has had a direct positive impact on a team member.
Yeah, so there's a guy named Butch who's an engineering leader on our team, and it's been a tough couple of months, honestly, for Butch and his family. First started out with his wife getting pretty sick. She's still struggling
Mm,
today. He's primary caregiver for her at the moment, and in the midst of all of that, he lost his mom,
mm,
and just the emotional toll that something like that, takes on an individual is almost, uncomprehendable.
yeah.
And for us, as friends, colleagues, of his, just trying to do everything that we can to, support him, through that period. And for us, a lot of that's been, providing him the flexibility, work when you can, but you got to take care of your family first. And,
Mm,
I was talking to him earlier today, and he was talking to me about a favorite quote of his, this idea of take care of the people and it takes care of the mission. And, if you can really focus on, providing what, your people need to be fulfilled, in their life, like that's ultimately how you're going to accomplish, what you need to, in the business.
I mean, totally understand like that situation and the challenging and just how, how do you even show up to work and have a mindset of like accomplishing what I'm supposed to do at work when your heart and your head is nowhere near work. So kudos to you for kind of leading in that way to make sure that that person is taken care of. Um, you always kind of hear about like the tech world or the SaaS world is so cutthroat, show up and just do what you're supposed to do. You're a robot, you're not a human being. Like, how has maybe your past experience in the ways that maybe you've previously been employed or just in your nature kind of led you to this space of this, the quote that Butch just said of like, take care of your people and the mission will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think for me as an entrepreneur, and really for all of us as entrepreneurs, the reality is like doesn't matter what industry you're in, like we are in a people business. Without the people on the team, our business cannot survive, our business cannot, thrive. And I think once you realize the importance of the team, of the culture, of the mission, of the values, of the business, you have to put intentional thought, and
Mm,
energy behind, how can we really, deliver, a culture and experience for our people. And, ultimately, like the people are the reason why the business is successful.
yeah, yeah, man. I would love to sit and like talk more about that just as you've kind of grown in through the ranks on building your own business from that side. But let's keep moving forward on this and let's dive into Tild a little bit more. I always kind of tell people like, hey, here's the time to brag and a humble brag of like what truly makes you guys different and not something that's just focused on the bottom dollar here or the bottom line. So what is it about Tild that truly makes it just like more than just a business?
Yeah, I always joke that the guy with the neon sign is probably willing to, brag a little bit about his company. So happy to give,
Fair enough.
a little bit of the shameless plug. But I think for me, I've spent my entire career in the payment space. My first business, the motto was merchant services done right. And for me, one of the original like ethos and ideas behind Tild was that we were going to approach the space differently. And unfortunately, the payment space in particular is pretty well known for being kind of a win at all cost, type environment where companies
Sure.
are doing everything that they can to, screw over customers, screw over employees, screw over the channel. And like, hey, we're we're going to find a way to win and, create shareholder value.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
the reality for me coming in, like, that's not how I wanted to win, in this business. And so one of our core values here at Tilt is this idea of a win-win, mindset. And so for us, like, you think about this idea of visualizing, what does success, look like. And to me, we are not succeeding unless, it's a win for our employees, it's a win for the shareholders, it's a win for our partners, it's a win for our customers, it's a win for our vendors. And so that's really, the
Mm,
mindset that we try to, approach these problems, on a day-to-day basis. And for us, a lot of that starts with like transparency, to our
yeah.
partners. And I think for a lot of the folks that come to Tilt, one, they love a lot of the content that we put out, because it's not just trying to push, Tilt, it's trying to educate people on the broader, what are payments, what is embedded payments, how does pricing work,
Yeah.
what is interchange plus, and all these acronyms and terms that most people just aren't,
Industry jargon. I
familiar
have no
with.
idea what it
And
means.
absolutely. And, for us, our goal, like whether you choose Tilt or not, we want you to be, educated and learn something, on your payments, journey. And so that's something that's been important, to us from day one. And I think the other thing that people really value is that we really lean in, as partners to help them when they're go to market. So how do you price this? How do you market it? How do you sell it? And that's something that, not a lot of companies are doing. But we're motivated to help our partners, succeed. And, ultimately we succeed, alongside them, given our
Mm.
revenue sharing model.
I'm curious, as far as, you say you're out going in fundraising, finding more money to make Till bigger and better than it is today. With that mindset of like, hey, we're going to look at this from a win-win perspective. Not being the cutthroat, we're going to cut costs, we're going to do all these things to make sure it looks good for an investor to come in. Staying true to that win-win piece. And as you're out fundraising, like, how has that helped you um, as you're doing your pitch to these
Mhm.
investors that honestly are probably looking at a lot of the dollars and cents
Mhm.
with the organization versus the intangible things of helping Butch out when his wife and mom has gone through challenging situations?
Yeah, I think for me, throughout the fundraising process, I've said from day one, you got to be careful, who you partner with, and that's across kind of all, partnerships, investors, employees, vendors, partners, customers. Like you gotta, know
Yeah.
who you're getting, into business with. And so for us, we've been fortunate, throughout our journey to really have a choice of, which investors we
Mm,
partnered with. And we've had situations where we've gotten very attractive term sheets from investors that I just didn't feel like there was a cultural, or values alignment, within the organizations, and we turned them down.
wow. Wow.
And that's hard to do.
I was
It's
just
hard.
about to
It's hard
say,
to turn
it's
down.
like,
Hard to turn down money. It's like, hey,
huh.
bird in hand. But in hindsight, zero regrets on any of those decisions, that we made. But we went through and we did due diligence on any investors, that were coming into the business. And I wanted to talk to, prior founders, some that they introduced me to, some that I would
Yeah.
go, find myself. And honestly, I was surprised a number of times, both good and bad, from some of the stories that I heard about investors that influenced me one way or the other,
Wow.
on picking, partners. And a lot of times it came down to like what happened when things weren't going well.
Sure.
It's easy
Yeah.
to be a good partner or a good investor when the company's growing,
Doing
up
things
and to the
right.
right. It's like, anybody can support, Stripe. That's an easy,
Yes.
it's an easy train to ride along. But hey, like inevitably, like there are, rough patches, even for some of the most valuable companies, in the
Yeah.
world. Folks go through, these challenges. And I think the last couple of years are a great, example of the fact that like you have no idea what's coming, next in business. But, we've been very fortunate to surround ourselves, with investors that believe in the mission, that believe in, the values of the business. And thankfully, we're also growing up and to the right. So the combination of, having the great, mission and vision, and then strong growth, also helps.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the reasons why I knew immediately after we had our conversation, like, one, I didn't realize, you're having those options to turn people down when, looking at that, you're seeing all the things that you could do with that money. But I think just from the conversations that we're having right now and previously, like, I wonder what you have gained outside of that because you turned that down. It allowed you to grow in other areas that have far succeeded where you might be had you accepted that. And I just kudos to you to staying to your core because there's money talks, and like you said, it's really hard to turn those down when you need some of that. But also, like, kudos to you for building a business that people are wanting to hitch their wagon to what you are building, and that just goes to show who you are as an individual and the business that you're leading. So, dude, that's fantastic. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what this looks like when we have you back on here in like 2 more years, to see how far up that tick has gone, up and to the right. So let's dive into you. You're a unique breed in the sense that you say, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go knock door to door. In your previous world, like, nobody signs up to do door to door sales. You got to have a little bit of crazy in you to go
A
out and
little
do
bit.
that kind of stuff. I can appreciate that. But I know every single day is not just sunshine and rainbows, whether it's personal or professional side of things. And sometimes we still have to show up when we only have 20% of ourselves. Like, what keeps you showing up? What keeps you motivated on those days where you just don't have a lot, but you got to be there for the people that you're blessed to serve?
Yeah, in addition to being the CEO of Tilt, I'm also a father of three, three
Okay.
under six, and so there's a lot of
That's
days.
right. We talked about this. I'm
Yeah,
saying
20% or less in the tank. There's a lot, of those days. And I think, for me, thing one is that I am incredibly passionate about, the business that we're building here. Tild's, mission is to make embedded payments delightful. And that's something that just ultimately, like, it just makes me happy. And so, like, day in and day out, like, I absolutely love what I do. Thing two, I love the people that I work with. I think,
yeah,
I hear it a lot, from folks on my team. We're like, we are grinding right now. Like, we are absolutely grinding. The
yeah.
the business, we've been growing like 25% month over month, but also not hiring all that much. And like, that is a hard thing, to go through that process of like crazy growth. But like, hey, we're trying, to pay attention to the bottom line here. But I think that
Sure.
the team just loves working together, and we've got a phenomenal group of employees that just love kind of being in the foxhole,
Yeah.
together. And I think, number three for me, like, it is my family. And so, I have three little kids at home, and like, that's some incredible, motivation to go provide for, my wife and a couple of little kiddos at home.
Man, running a business and just having 3 kids, 6 and under, is like heroic type of stuff. So, I feel for you on that. I'm curious, how do you separate yourself from, the business world and the personal side, like being there for your kiddos and your spouse? I know that's not easy because your business is your baby in a sense, and then you literally have your babies. Let's talk about maybe some of the things, even for some of your team members, that maybe more tangible for some of those that are tuning in and listening, that maybe they can take away. Like, how do you make sure you separate those two things? Because it can get integrated pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about the idea of work-life balance. I really hate that term, to be perfectly honest. I feel like
Fair.
the reality is, like, I never feel balanced. That's not a realistic, standard to strive for, at least in my opinion. To me, it's more about being intentional about what's important to you. And so for me, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to drive my kids to school in the mornings. I'm going to minimize the number of nights that I'm on the road so I can put, my kids to bed. I'm going to take them to playgrounds on the weekends and be present, in that time, because I know that the trade-off of that is there's going to be a lot of times where I am traveling or I'm working
Yeah.
late, or, I have, other things going on. And I think for me, as the business has grown, I've gotten more intentional about saying, hey, these are non-negotiable for things for me
There
on
we
the
go.
personal
Yeah.
side. And
Yeah.
I think if you can be diligent about carving out that time, both for, family and, frankly, you need some you time. Like, hey, I got to go,
Good.
play 9 holes of golf today, or I'm going to go crazy. And
Yeah.
like, you have to set aside that time. And if you're able to do that, I think it actually makes you more productive, as an employee, as a leader, as an entrepreneur. And for me in the business, I try to lead, by example. And like
Yeah.
one specific way that I do that is with a public calendar. And so, hey, if I'm going to my kids, musical, at the kindergarten, like that's what's on my calendar. Like I'm going to
Do
Haven's,
not book it. This is
musical,
a non-negotiable.
at her school. And it's like, it's on my calendar, where I'm going to be. I'm not hiding it. I'm going to the dentist, or I'm taking the kids, to the dentist. And so I think by
Yeah.
leading, by example and saying, hey, like, one, you should have the flexibility to go do those things that you're saying are a boundary or are, important to you. And you shouldn't have to hide it. It's like, oh, I was, out sick, today, just because you wanted to go take, your kids to the Braves game, or, whatever
Right.
it
Right.
is. And so I think by leading by example and doing that, it gives your people permission to do that, in their lives.
I feel like that is such a unique piece of humanizing like the business side of things, in the sense that like I sit there and wonder, like, how did anybody ever do life when you have dentist appointments, and with young kids, like you're heading to the pediatrician like once every other month when it's sick time
Or
and
more.
winter and all that kind of stuff. Like I mean, between myself running a business and my wife being a nurse, it's just like, how in the world did somebody survive when they couldn't leave to go take their kid to the pediatrician because they got a double ear infection? Like those were things where I've started to see this switch, and it's probably been going on for a while, but I didn't recognize it, that these are moments where we can, as an organization, as a leader, can show by example, like these are one non-negotiable things: kindergarten, singing, Christmas carol, whatever that is. I'm not going to allow, even if it is that big important meeting that you've been really, really wanting to have. Like in all reality, it can probably wait another 48 hours. So
100%.
don't let that raising my hand in a sense, like I've been there to the point where you just gave me a really good reminder on, these are non-negotiables. These are boundaries that I'm going to set, and I will not miss these. And there is nothing that can change that. And I want to say that to anybody that's a young entrepreneur kind of getting going and getting started: don't lose track of the things that you need to do to make yourself healthy, both mentally and physically, because I've gone the route of white knuckling and putting that stuff aside. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, you're in a dark hole and you're trying to figure out how I even got here. So I appreciate you kind of speaking that in, as a leader of an organization with 50 team members and 3 kids, 6 and under. Like that's no joke, no joke. So thank you for saying that, man.
Yeah, the reality of like what we're doing here, like this is a marathon. I'm almost 5.5 years into building out this business. And if you have that, like, white knuckle, we're gonna, kind of grind it out approach, like you're not gonna make it 5.5, 6.5, 10 years, in that business. And I think that's where a lot of people burn out, is they're not, intentional about how, they're prioritizing their time, and you just can't sustain that pace, forever.
Yeah, but you're different. You can do this. I'm different than every other entrepreneur that's never burned out and all that. I've heard that so many times from my own internal self, is like, I am different than the other person. I can beat the standard company to profitability. I can outwork and outpace those individuals. And all of a sudden I'm in that spot and I'm like, this
This
is
is
what
what
they were
all those
talking
other
about.
people.
Shame on me. So you can think you are the best thing that's ever happened, but there's an opportunity to be humbled pretty quickly in that. Caleb, man, we have reached the end of the show. We are there, man. It flies by, and I just want to say thank you so much for just speaking truth into this, as you're on the pace to continue to grow and scale and do a lot of different things, but most importantly, be like a present father and husband while you're doing that. I think that's really honorable of what you are doing. So I appreciate that from a father perspective and a husband perspective. If this resonated with anybody that's tuning in now, or even 6 months from now, like what's a good way for them to get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, following me on LinkedIn is a great way to follow along the journey. I share updates on Tilt. I share, pictures of me golfing, photos of the kids.
Yes.
And so if you don't like, photos of kids, I wouldn't follow me on LinkedIn. But if you're open to the occasional, shot of the kids, that's a great place to go. And if you want to learn more about Tilt, the business, tilt.com, tons of phenomenal resources. And if you want to listen to more content, just search me on the Googles, and there's plenty of content out there to learn more about Tilt.
Well, I'll echo the sense too. If you can't get a hold of Caleb, let me know, and I'll make sure to get you guys connected. And I do want to, like, hey, you got a podcast out there right now. What's But tell us more about the podcast real quick and how they can maybe listen to that.
Yeah, so I prefer doing guest appearances on other people's podcasts, and I'm totally
Smart
honest. So
man.
I set up this amazing studio, and if I'm honest, like for other entrepreneurs out there, go get on other people's podcasts as guests, because to be totally honest, it's like 90% of the benefit with about 5% of the effort. And so I do have a YouTube channel with a lot of the episodes that we've recorded. We've probably done close to 50 episodes
Wow.
at this point, so tons and tons of content
Yeah.
out there. But Caleb Avery on Google or YouTube, and you will find way more payments content that you could ever want to listen to.
I love that. I mean, some riveting stuff, I'm sure, for the layman's on this, but yeah, definitely. If you want to, Caleb, afterwards, you can shoot like a link to that into the comments
Yeah.
on this show on LinkedIn, and people can kind of trace you that way as well. But something that my wife and I have always wanted to do with each and every guest on the show is just show our own gratitude and appreciation. And by doing so, we want to make sure that we're allowed you to give a gift of one of our meal kits to a team member or a client of yours. Whether they're going through a great season in life, a tough season in life. Yeah, who might be somebody you're kind of thinking of, and why? Also recognizing you can share as much or as little as you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to do it for Butch. I feel
Yeah,
like his family
I
has
thought
been
that would be the
through
one.
a lot. Yeah, I think it might be rude for me to say anybody else, but I think they would really appreciate it. And Butch is one of those people that is just beloved on the teams.
Mm,
Like when we have our company all hands, he's the guy playing the intro music, and he just goes above and beyond for so many people across the team. Even now, like
yeah.
that's just the kind of
Wow.
guy that he is. And so just special shout out to Butch, all the love and credit to him. And I think they'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure to touch base after this to make sure we get the info we need to make sure that we can get that over to Butch on your behalf. And yeah, I just, man, that's a lot of life in a very short amount of time. So I hope that does offer a little bit of time and peace, and hopefully some family time as well. So, Caleb, with that, man, we have reached the end. Is there any last words you want to kind of hit out for the audience? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and get us signed off.
Yeah, honestly, just want to thank you, Mitch, for having me on the show, and appreciate giving me the opportunity to share a little bit more about Till, Butch, and myself and what we're building here.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time on this too, and I'm excited to watch your journey as you guys continue to grow and check out some more of those family pictures and see if I can't share some of my own with you as well. So, Caleb, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck, and seriously, in a couple years, I'm going to try and carve out some time on your calendar, and we'll have you back on the show here just to kind of see how things are going, see how Butch is doing, and we'll go from there. So, all right, with everybody else that's kind of tuned in right now, we're going to be back next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have Matt Bergman. He's the CEO of Lake Town Electric. We're going to have him in. Always fun to talk with other electrical contractors in the world here. So we'll be able to bring him in next week. So make sure to tune in. And until then, continue to strengthen those relationships by showing gratitude, appreciation, and empathy. With that, Matt, man, I almost made it through the whole show without making a mistake. With that, Caleb, we're out, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, Mitch.